Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. Certainly understand and feel that person's pain. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. I've lived through it when I was a kid. We had a tree fall on our house during Hurricane Francis in 2004, and we were out of our home for 2 years. So I know where that pain comes from. And one thing I would urge the commission is talk about what we have done. So we have passed a Housing for All plan, and depending on what park it is and whether the person owns the land, we now give mobile home residents a lot more flexibility if they own the land on what they can build on that site when it comes to tiny homes, when it comes to modular homes, when it comes to other manufactured homes. You guys made that adjustment exactly for this type of scenario to help people in that rebuilding situation, in which many cases they're not going to be able to rebuild a mobile home like it was in the previous instance. So just want to make sure we're tying all our dots together and making sure we're part of our disaster recovery is Housing for All, and that was part of something this commission adopted. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, I don't know how we got here, and I know this board isn't technically partisan, but I'm going to say the truth. We have a 6-1 Republican commission, and it is one of the most fiscally irresponsible, unconservative commissions I have seen. If we look since 2019, and I'm going to excuse 2 commissioners as they just gave up here, so please, my comments aren't directed at 2 certain commissioners. We've had a 7.4% growth in personnel. That is higher than Clearwater at 4.12%. It's higher than Pinellas Park at 4.36%. It's higher than St. Petersburg at 3.8%. And it's higher than Dunedin at 1.72%. This has all happened while our population has decreased 0.2%. Someone explain to me why we need 50 more staff members than we did in 2019 when our population has decreased. So for instance, you look at Pinellas Park, they've had 4.3% population growth that justifies the 4.3% increase in growth of personnel. I can't say that about this commission. It is time to get our fiscal house in order. I urge the commission to freeze all non-negotiated salaries immediately, order the city manager to look at over 50 positions to terminate within the next 2 years to get us back to baseline, and get our fiscal house in order, get us back to our pre-COVID state, and let's get going. Thank you. Good evening, Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. Again, I said this last year, the trim notice in our state statute is not a maximum rate of notice. It is not to tell taxpayers, this is the maximum. It's to tell taxpayers what they actually might be paying. It's to give, and let me read from Florida statute 200.065, 2, subsection 2A1. Upon preparation of a tentative budget, but prior to adoption thereof, each taxing authority shall compute a proposed millage rate necessary to fund the tentative budget. Decision packages 3 and 4, the fact that they're even in the budget, are an embarrassment and an assault. This commission, the spending is out of control. You notice Commissioner Smith again asked way back for a cumulative summary of the rate increases and property tax increases. This commission has still not been. We were told you guys were going to get presented it. Still hasn't happened. So I did the work myself. Using the budget in brief, which magically the FY21 one has been taken down from our site now. So I only had access to the FY21, the FY24, and the FY25. This commission has increased property taxes on the average resident using those documents by $303 per year. That's just the average resident. If you were to accept this using their 115 number, that is $418 and yearly property tax increase, just in property tax increase since 2019, while inflation has only, income growth has only been 36%. That way outpaces the 36%. We are looking at, before the rate increases they're going to talk about, this commission and city has increased the average cost of living in this city $722 per year. That is 3% of the entire average annual Social Security benefit. This commission has raised rates 3% of 60% of our city's main source of income. Our city's main source of income is Social Security. Most of our mobile home communities, they cannot afford these above inflation increases. We cannot afford them. This has to stop. This commission has to stand up. And by the way, seeing how you guys acted on the last item tells me why we're in this mess. Because staff is running the show, not you all. Thank you. Well, Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. On this one, actually, I think we're pretty close to the spot. Unfortunately, I don't like where the number's at, but when you look at the numbers, it makes sense at least. CPI in our area is around 32%. Solid waste rates have increased since 2019, 32%. So at least with solid waste and that enterprise fund, we seem to be doing a good job. I know there's a lot of talk about the recycling. Just keep in mind that our landfill does have a limited lifespan. And if every municipality in this county was to stop recycling, our landfill would be filled in 20 years, and we'd be looking at probably 100 to 200% rate increases, because we're gonna have to ship the garbage to Hillsborough County at that point. So I think the staff's on the right approach with our solid waste fund, looking at mitigating the tipping fee increases that are gonna come. And I hope to see maybe from staff some interesting ideas on how we can use some demand levers to lower usage. And whether that looks at, maybe we put weights on the arms and have a tear for the garbage can, and we charge by usage. That might be a conversation we're having in 5 or 10 years down the road. I'm not saying it's a conversation we're having today, but it is something to really look at how we can mitigate those demand factors and keep rates low for customers who use the least, and inherently help people do what we're asking them to do through the market. Thank you.
Cards?
I have 2 cards for this one. First is Matthew Faustini.
A surprise. You're getting your exercise, Matt.
That's why I sit in the back. Got to get my steps in somehow. Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. Again, I have been pleading for 3 years for this commission to look at a tiered approach to prevent this exact situation. Let's pull out, because I think in each one of these items, we narrow in and we lose the holistic picture. And the holistic picture is that we are looking at a total of $722 that we've increased on the average resident. And when we look at the amount that this is going up, it is just at 71.4% since 2019. It's not sustainable. That's an extra $260 per year for the average resident before this 5% increase and the 15% increase you're about to get proposed on the next item. We are spending $250,000 to do a rate study. Dunedin has done a rate study on this. Pinellas County has done a rate study on this. Manatee County has done a rate study on this. Treasure Island has done a rate study on this. St. Pete Beach has done a rate study on this. Pinellas Park has done a rate study on this. St. Petersburg has done a rate study on this. I was able to take those PDFs, throw them into AI, and give you guys a recommendation within hours. What are we doing? We have the information we need. Now's the time for people to lead and decisions to be made. Thank you.
Next.
Drive in Largo. I'm not going to go through everything I've already gone through. We've already done 78% increase since 2019 in our stormwater rates. costing the average resident $78 extra since 2019. But how do we fix this? I've suggested tiering. The commission didn't like that idea. So the next suggestion I have is, where can we save massive amounts of money? And I look at our police department, unfortunately. And I say that while the chief and the deputy chief are in this room for a reason. Because we are spending per capita as Largo, let's see here, make sure I get the right number, $430.78 per capita per resident for our police department. Do you want to know what unincorporated Pinellas County is paying for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department? $272.81 per capita. And the reason why I bring this up is because Commissioner Latvala just posted this on Twitter at 6:01. Any ideas how to fund the sheriff? He is 42% of our budget. I do not support defunding police. Pinellas has reduced property taxes 3 of the last 4 years. This year we didn't because we're losing deputies and gave them a raise. This year our growth is 3.7%. Clearly the county's ready for a conversation about where it can get money for the sheriff's department. I know that this will be a tough debate. Not everyone will agree, and we might end at the same place we end up. There's going to have to be a referendum before anything can happen anyways. But leaders have debates. Leaders get the information, and then you shape the policy discussion that leads the public sphere when we make a decision as a community. But you guys don't have the information. You don't know how cost-effective our police department is compared to the sheriff. I mean, think about it. If we just got rid of that huge boundary in between what the sheriff is providing and his headquarters, there's huge operational synergies there. Plus, we're looking at 201. We wouldn't need a police station anymore if we didn't have a police department. Just facts. These are things we have to talk about when we're talking about 15% rate increases for a 3rd year in a row. When we're talking about raising people's bills 78%, 73%, 30%, 50% over a 5-year period, and we're not having any serious debate on how to control spending. I hate to be the one that comes up here and sends you all the emails saying to cut spending and do this and do that. I don't want to be that person. But I am flailing, trying to get this commission to see the fiscal situation its residents are in. Thank you.